I'm going to start systems today. So uh, I'll use my iPad and I'll use the board to draw. So let me join using my iPad. Okay, so now we are going to start systems, right? So why are we learning systems? We are learning systems because if you have to go talk to a developer or a tester, you have to be able to speak systems. Sometimes intentionally, when the developer wants to say something to you, they'll say it. It's actually a very simple thing, right? But they'll say it to you in such a way that they kind of what's the right word to use? They kind of show off, or they say something to you in such a way, in a manner that you will not be able to understand it. So they want to show that they know something. This happens a lot, and it's really frustrating. Nobody should do this, actually. So even once you learn this skill set, right? So once you become a business analyst or a scrum master, we learned a lot of jargons in scrum master, right? When you go and talk to somebody else, the intention must be to deliver the message. The intention must not be to show off or delivering the message in such a way that the other person is not able to understand. Correct? So generally, when you talk to developers and testers, they generally speak systems language. Sometimes it might not be intentional. They just speak that way, right? They speak technical language. So whenever you go and interact with the developers and testers, you have to know some systems so that you can understand what they are saying and they can understand what you are saying, right? So that is why I have drafted a course named Systems. It's called Systems, right? So the very first part of
So for
systems.
business analyst or Scrum Master interview, can they ask questions from systems related to systems?
No, there is no such thing as systems, right? In general, when you go for a BA training, they will not train you for systems. Or Scrum Master training, they will not train you for systems. But when you go and work in real time, you have to know what an application is. At the end of the day, you're going to work on an application. So you have to have some basic knowledge on how it is structured. How is this even working? How is this application even working? What is behind the screen? And you have to be able to talk to developers and testers, right? And even in interviews, you have to talk systems. Nobody is going to ask you a question on systems. But when they ask you a question, what did you do in your previous project? At least 10 to 50% systems answer must be there, so that they will recognize that, okay, this person is an experienced person, right? So that is why we are learning this. Okay. So generally, when you take an application, what is an application? Amazon is an application. Facebook is an application. So in your organization, they will be using an intranet application, right? So these are all applications. So now, when you take an application, there will be three elements: front end. So this is front end. Or UI. Write it down, draw it with your notepad and write it down. Otherwise, you will not be able to understand. Though the session is on record, draw it and write things down. And especially when it comes to this, I'm not a big fan of taking notes, to be very honest. Even when I was in college long time back, I never used to take notes, and everybody used to take notes. But then, at least only for this set of sessions, right, take notes. So this is front end. So this is code behind. This is common code. This is a database. So this is front end, UI, user interface, graphical user interface. So this is middle tier. This is backend. So this is how an application is built. So what is UI? So if you open Amazon.com today, so if I go out of the screen, I will not be able to show anything. But did you guys note this down? Hello? Did you guys draw?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to rub this. If you don't draw this, it will all be one blank, one big blank.
So Sushrit, what does the CC stand for in the middle? What does that mean?
Common code. Okay, let me also write it. So this is database, and code behind and common code combined, it is called middle tier. These two combined, it is middle tier. And this is backend. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you an application and I'm going to show you what is the front end. So this is an application, right? This is a website application, right? So this is a website application. So this is the front end, everything that you see on the screen. This is the front end or the user interface. Right? Everything that you see is the front end. Okay. So now when we click on something, I'll tell you what is database. 1 second. So all the data that is stored, right? So just thinking. So if, say for example, a good example of database would be, have you, if once you give your exam, then you want to check the results, you'll put your roll number or your unique or your student ID, and there might be a password. Then once you click, and then once you enter those two, and then click submit, name, age, date of birth, grade, pass or fail, everything will come. So where is this data coming from? That is coming from the database. So front end and database is pretty straightforward. Okay. Any questions? So now let's look at middle tier, right? Okay, so now this is one good example of middle tier, right? So now if I click on building credit, no annual fee, right? Or just building, then it'll have a certain behavior. So anyways, it's going to ask my name and all, and then residential address. Okay, it's asking me an actual address, but then think of it like this. Just use your imagination a little bit. Now, let's say, for example, if we are clicking building credit, okay, then one page opens up. Now, anyways, it's opening up this page, right? At the same time, if we click on travel rewards, another page will open up. You understand what I'm saying? So if we click on okay, so if we click on building credit and hit next, one set of questions will come up. If we click on travel rewards or low interest, another set of questions will come up. Now, if this is the behavior, then that business logic, right? If I click on building credit, it's going to ask me 5 questions. If I click on travel rewards, it's going to ask another 5 questions, right? Which is not similar to what questions will come up when we click on building credit. Now, this behavior is coded in the middle tier. So now do you understand the difference between where front-end code is, where middle tier code is, and where back-end code is? We call it business logic. Any questions? No questions? Everything is clear? Okay. Let me share my screen in my... Just one second. I just want to change the presenter. Okay. Okay. So now, so we know what front end is doing, what middle tier is doing, and what back end is doing, right? So all the data is coming from database. So these two combined, common code, code behind. It's called middle tier. This is front end. We call it UI, right? So all the business logic will come from this place. Another example of that would be, I'm sure people in US at least will understand this. So if you are a visa holder, when you are applying for a job, it is going to ask you a question, are you a citizen? You have to enter yes or no. And then if we enter no, it's going to ask another question. Are you a green card holder? Yes or no? So again, if we enter no, it's going to ask you, are you a visa holder? Then we have to say yes. Then what kind of visa? Another 10 options. H series, F series, O series, so many series, A series, right? So now if I had clicked, are you a citizen? Yes, it will not ask the second question. Or let's say I'm saying, are you a citizen? No. Are you a green card holder? Yes. Again, no other questions, right? Now this is coded in the business middle tier. So something is thinking, right? I'm saying I'm a citizen, then no questions. I'm saying I'm not a citizen, one more question. So something is thinking, something is processing and behaving as per our input, right? That is in the middle tier. Whatever you see in the front, all the graphics, whatever you see, display text, drop down, radio button, everything is in the UI. And let's say, for example, you enter your roll number and password, a lot of information comes. Where is it coming from? Your grades, your name, your age, the day you took the exam. Where is it coming from? Database. So this much basic understanding you need to have. Without this, it will be very hard. Tomorrow, you go and ask a question to the developer. They'll say this change is in the backend. You will not understand what he or she means by backend. She's saying the coding here, right? They have to code something in this place. So now what are the examples of code that we use to code in the front end? JavaScript. Please write it down. HTML for front end. CSS, cascading style sheet. There are many other tools. These are some examples. And do a homework, right? This is for yourself. I'm not going to check, but do it for yourself and you kind of keep yourself in check. But please do this homework. Come up with 7 or 8 other front-end tools. Coding tools that are used to code for the front end. Come up with 10. So middle tier, what are all the middle tier tools? Java, .NET, what else? Python. Another homework, right? Now I have given you 3, you give me 5 more or 6, 7 more. Do your research. Google is there, right? Database, Oracle, SQL Server, SharePoint. Also you can use as a database, mind you. Oracle, SQL Server, SharePoint. So again, do a homework, right? Come up with, these are actually 3 major databases. Outside this, it's very hard to go. But come up with 2 to 3 more database tools. Any questions? Today, everybody is very quiet. Am I still audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you are. We are just absorbing it.
Okay, so these are all simple things, right? So tomorrow somebody is saying, look, generally, if there are changes in the UI, right? There are some changes in the UI. Then the changes will be relatively minor if you compare it with middle tier changes and the backend changes. So as we go deep, the time and efforts will be more. If you go middle tier, it will be more. If you go backend, it will be a little bit more. So you have to know this much, right? If it is in the front end, easily you can code. Meaning, if there is a display text change, it is saying welcome customer. Instead of that, it has to say welcome client. That is a 10-second change. You just need to go into the code. Instead of that customer, you have to delete it and put client. That's it. It's like 1 minute change. But if there is going to be a change in the database or the middle tier or the backend, it is not. It might be a 1 day or 2 days work. Even minor work, it could be 1 day or 2 days. So tomorrow, 1 day or 2 days. So tomorrow, if somebody comes to you and says there is a minor front end change, only instead of customer you have to put client, they'll say it will take a day. then you can actually call them out, say, hey, you're just going to change that word. Why is it taking this much time? You'll not be illiterate. You'll not be code illiterate when you go and talk to them, right? So generally developers will try to figure, okay, whether this, even as a project manager, right? I'll cite an example. This happened, I think, this week or last week. I said, we are coming up with a new project. Okay, this project is heavily reliant on me. And a very small team. And it's a very new team also. And we have to work with the state client. So I said, you have to recommend some tools, right? And they are by front end and middle tier tools we have to recommend to the client. So I said, okay, by Friday, you guys give me a write-up on what tools to give them as a solution. We have to recommend these tools, so give me a write-up. A week later, we have a database meeting where we have to discuss about the database, what kind of data they are having and all. I'm only asking for the front end and middle tier tools, right? So a developer called me and he said, can we wait for the database meeting to get over and then we can recommend the front end and middle tier tools? So he named those tools, right? We are actually thinking about 4 or 5 tools. So he was saying, can we wait for a week and a half and do it? Because of this, I'm saying, why are you citing this? Immediately I asked, this is backend, database. These two are front end and middle tier. I'm telling you to recommend the front end tool and middle tier. So why should we wait for a database meeting which has got nothing to do with front end and middle tier? And then he didn't know what to say. So he thinks if he can go to a project manager, if he goes to a project manager and talk, they won't know all these things. Actually, in reality, many of them, they don't know. Many project managers, I found them to be completely code illiterate, many of them. And you might think, if the project manager is code illiterate, it will be very easy. We can say whatever we want. The truth is actually the other way around. They'll micromanage. You might be actually working very hard, but they will not even be able to see it because they are illiterate. Somebody writes you a good poem and they'll give it to you, right? If that person is literate, they'll read it and they'll appreciate you. Maybe they'll have some tears in their eye if they are sensitive. But if they are illiterate, they will treat it like some, I don't know, another piece of paper that can be thrown inside the dustbin. But you know that it is very valuable. But in front of your eyes, they'll throw it in the trash can. Right, they'll make a ball out of it and they'll throw it into the trash can, right? So that's how they'll manage people, project managers, right? Oh, this you can articulate as much as you want. It'll all go above your head. It's very beautiful to watch, right? So he was under the impression that I will not know these things. I immediately said that meeting is database meeting. Right, that's going to happen next week. I'm telling you to recommend the front end and middle tier tools. What is the issue? Then he didn't know what to say. He was like, yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, fine. We'll do this. So this is why we need to know system. Do I know how to code the front end and middle tier? No. Do I know how to code back end? No. But do I know what is front end and middle tier? Yes. This is very important, right? So this knowledge you have to have, right? So that is why we have to at least have an understanding that, okay, this is the front end, this is the middle tier, this is the back end. Front end, what and all tools do we use? 10 tools. Have that much knowledge. Middle tier, what tools do we use? 10 tools. Have that much knowledge, right? Back end, have a list of 10 tools in your mind. That much knowledge you need to have. And what is common code and code behind? What is the difference? We'll discuss next. But up to this, if you have any questions, you can ask me. Okay, I'll take that as a no. So next is the difference between common code and code behind. Okay. So now let me share the screen. in my computer. 1 second. So now this is Amazon application, right? So now if I click on, this is the introduction page, first page where we land once we enter into the application. If I click on health and household, this Amazon button is there, this is there, this search bar is there, all these things are there, but everything else is gone, right? Whatever was here, all those info is gone, correct? So now if I click on, say, books, which I really like, so all the features are gone, but then all these features are still there. Okay. So pharmacy. So this again, this Amazon is there, this search bar is there, this returns and order is there, this cart is there, right? So now, but then so many other features, right? All these books features are not there, right? Now I'll share my screen in here. Okay, so now there are some features that were there on all the pages. There were some features that were only there in one page, right? Let's say, for example, so the features that you saw that were there only in one page will be in the code behind. So that will be only for that page. This is the page. That's why I call it UI. So that code behind features will be only for that one page alone, exclusively only for that one page. Common code features will be for multiple pages. So all those features, right, that search bar, that Amazon Prime, so all those features that you saw that were coming on multiple pages, the code will be residing in the common code. The features that you saw that were only exclusive for that one page, that will be there in the code behind. So this is the difference between, so both these things are middle tier, but under middle tier, what is code behind, what is common code? This is the difference. Suppose you have a TV, a big TV, 55-inch screen TV. We will not keep it in the bedroom. Generally, it's kept in the living room because everybody can see it. Maybe there are 4 roommates, right? 4 roommates. There are 4 rooms. They are buying a 55-inch TV. They'll keep it in the living room because everybody must see. At the same time, if somebody is buying a personal computer, right? Many of us don't buy personal computers these days, but somebody wants a personal computer for whatever reason. Then that will be kept in their bedroom. They will not keep it in the living room. Think of it like this. Code behind is the bedroom and common code is the living room. That TV is used by 4 people. They'll put it in the common living room. The personal computer is only used by that one person. They'll put it in the code behind bedroom. This is how you have to keep it in your mind. When you actually go through these development environments, right, you'll figure out what I'm saying. But for your understanding, think of it like this. But this is what is actually happening. But when you go into tools like Eclipse or MS Visual Studio, you'll figure it out. Okay, what is code behind, what is common code, and all, you'll figure it out, right? So for now, have this understanding, right? Any questions? No question? Okay. So next topic is API. This is one application. I'll just give an introduction, and tomorrow we can go into it in depth. I'll just give an intro because this is the first session, right? From tomorrow onwards, I'll go into it real fast. Systems, I'll start teaching more and more concepts, 2 or 3 concepts at a stretch. But I'll make sure that everybody is able to understand. So if you're not able to understand anything, feel free to ask questions. So this is Kayak.
I have one question, like for common code, will there be multiple files or like a single file?
There is no file. It is code.
Okay. So like code will store in multiple file, like that type of system. I mean, thing.
So there will be a repository. There will be a repository, and
okay.
Inside that, so common code, right? Yeah, think of it like this, right? So there will be an environment called Eclipse. I mean, there will be Java, and Java is a code, and Eclipse will be the environment. So let's say, for example, they'll write codes, right? In order for all these features to function, we'll write a lot of code. So we'll write a lot of code, and that set of code for a business logic, right? So say, for example, the same example that we took. What is an example of a business logic? Middle-tier business logic. That green card US citizen examples, visa holder example, right? So now, for example, if you have an application and you want that middle-tier logic only in one page, then you'll put it into the code behind section. Then only in one page that business logic is. But for whatever reason, 5 pages are having the same business logic. Then you'll take that set of code, you know what is code, right? So that lines and lines of code, you'll place it in common code so that 5 or 6 pages can use it. So just have this much in mind. There's no files and all, so don't think of it as files, but think of it as set a bunch of code and where is it placed.
Got it. I got it. The basis of code, yeah, got it.
So for that to happen, right, if you are a citizen, they'll have one behavior in the application. If you are a green card holder, another behavior. If you are a visa holder, they'll throw a series of questions at you to a point where you'll not be able to complete that application, right? Now, this business logic is possible because of humongous bunch of code. Somebody has to code it. A lot of if-else statements. So all these code, right? So that's how it's happening. So where is this bunch of code placed? That is the question. Okay. Did I answer your question? Okay. So now, everybody has used Uber, right? If you use Uber, there will be a map. If you really watch closely, there will be Google in this end, and the map will be here. All the maps will be here. They'll have a Google here, right? So Uber doesn't own that map. They don't have the infrastructure for it. Google owns it. Google lends their feature out to other applications and they make money. Can you give me an example of another app just like Uber? And this is there both in US and India and other places too, Europe and all too. Another example, very straightforward question. Anybody can answer.
All these hotel apps also, they use Google Maps.
But just like Uber, correct, you are right. But just like Uber, Lyft.
Ola.
Yeah, Ola or Lyft, right? Lyft, Ola will also have this Google app. So they are not developing the infrastructure. They are borrowing their feature. Why should they code everything? Why should they build infrastructure and then build something as opposed to I'll borrow yours. I'll borrow and I'll give some money. I'll borrow that feature, right? So Google lends it out and they get money. And how is this happening? Through API, application interface. Full form of API is application interface. Another example is Bloomberg Terminal. So all the stock information will be coming, right? So now if you have another finance application, so the application will be here, and then in one place in that dashboard, all the stock prices will be coming. So they can't have an infrastructure where something picks up all the stock prices and it's displaying it here. It's very costly. They'll get it from the Bloomberg terminal. They'll borrow that feature from the Bloomberg terminal, right? This is possible through API. Any questions? So API is called application interface. And sometimes you can use API and web services, API, web services and microservices can be used interchangeably. We'll cover a web service and microservice in the next session. And these terminologies can be used interchangeably, but the way I think of it, right? So API means you're actually borrowing a feature and you're using it in your application. In your daily life, you can see a lot of APIs. You can figure it out. I mean, we all use applications these days, right? We are all application literate, right? Though you might not know it, you are using application. Everybody is in Facebook. Everybody is using Amazon these days. Everybody is using just about some application in their lifetime, right? So you yourself will be able to give more examples if you are really aware, right? This is an API. When you go to an interview, you have to talk about all these things. When they ask you a question, so tell me about yourself, or tell me about a project that you worked in, or tell me about a time when you gathered requirements for a specific feature. You have to talk about all these things. Instead of just saying, yeah, I went to the requirements meeting, I gathered requirements, I documented it in BRD, I got approval, they gave it to the development team to code, they finished coding, I did some testing, I did some smoke testing, and then it was good. So whatever question they ask, if you keep saying these theoretical answer, they'll be like, okay, this person prepared and they came. You have to say some real-time answer. You have to talk about API. We had to inculcate the Google Map API into our dashboard. So we had to get the API link. And by getting the API link, we were able to integrate it and we were able to use the map feature in our dashboard. things like that, right? When you talk real time, when you talk systems, when you talk features, right? When you talk features and systems, that's when you'll start cracking interviews. The more you talk theory, right? This is what they'll teach in that other in many consultancies, right? They'll teach all these theory, right? Theory is good, but then if you go and talk theory in interviews, it looks very bad. They'll easily say, okay, this person, they got trained and they are coming here. You have to talk some theory, even if you are applying for an internship, right? You have to talk some sort of a real time features and systems language as opposed to theory. But this is API concept. Any questions on API concept? No questions. Everyone is clear. Okay, so we'll conclude the session here. So tomorrow we'll start with, I don't want to overload you with information. Tomorrow we'll start with web services, right? And microservices. And we'll cover Ajax. So tomorrow we'll cover these 3 topics. And before we conclude, right, are you guys available on Tuesday and Friday? Not Friday, 8th and 11th, right? So 8th will be, what day is 8th? Let me check 1 second. Where is the mouse? Okay, it's here. 8th will be Tuesday, 11th will be a Friday. Same time. These 2 are holidays in the US. And in India, it's anyways in the evening, 7 p.m. So everybody will be done with work. So we can have 2 sessions here.
Yeah, yes.
Everyone is available.
So, what holidays on 11th? I know it's election day on 8th.
Veterans Day.
No. Okay. Yeah. Same time, and then we'll do the Saturday, Sunday as well.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'll be there.
Okay. So yeah, we can conclude. If we can adjourn the meeting unless you guys have any questions in regards to the topics that were taught today. Okay, I'll take it as a no. So we'll talk tomorrow. We'll meet tomorrow same time, and we'll start with web services. Thank you all. You all have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.